Parser, no mercy.
Okay, I like that. So I screen share my side, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, let's see.
There we go. I see me.
And here you are. Can you see my first image?
Nope, I see me.
All right, let me try one more time. Let's do this. Let's do this. And how about now?
There we go.
All right. So I'll start talking about it.
Yep.
So this is the image that I submitted for the Creation Wars, and I wanted to bring it back because I thought this was representative of where I wanted to go with my work, and I knew that that was one of the descriptions for this level. I like the story behind it. I like how the story kind of flips their traditional light is safe and dark is scary, sort of on its head. I like how the image came together. I think there's certainly some improvements that could be made, but overall, this was one of the ones that sort of, to me, says this is where I want to go with my work.
Now, did you re-edit this from since the Creation Wars?
I did. I took some of the suggestions and tried to tweak some things a little bit. It's nothing major, but tweaks here or there.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I like the original one better.
Oh yeah? Interesting.
Yeah. Forget those other masters. That's why you're with me. They don't know what they're talking about.
I like that.
And you know what, though? That brings up a really good point. Now, let me ask you, looking at this one and looking at the original, which one do you like better?
There are aspects of both that I like. There are certainly some things I changed that I wouldn't have on my own, but I wanted to present it sort of as they said it, just to have a cohesive picture and to see what you thought. But I like a mixture of the two. I would have done things a little differently than what you're seeing here.
Okay, then your first personal homework assignment from level 9 is to go and maybe play with it one more time and retouch it the way that you want. Although I'm inclined to tell you that the way that you want is the way the first image, which is why you retouched it that way in the first place.
Yeah.
But I do think that you know, insight and critique is really valuable. But I think that this is a really good example of how people start second-guessing themselves and what their original intention was, and actually can end up diluting the potency of their own work. So I really, really loved it, or I wouldn't have chose it to bring to critique to begin with. And I don't think that this one is as strong or as moving as the original one is. So, it's difficult because I'm comparing it to what I know the image to be now. So that's
Sure.
losing more points than I think it would have if it was a fresh image for me. I'm not a big fan of the trees and the fact that aside from the vertical lines that we had initially, that we're getting like some. It's like got this wavy kind of light banding across now. I don't think that that's helping your image. I liked that the subject was like out of focus and almost like apparition-like in the original. I don't think that she stands as strong now. She looks like a composite. And I just and I think that might be accentuated by the fact that now she's so sharp in the middle of it, and the rest kind of has this dreamlike feel. So maybe it is a marrying of the two. But I liked a lot that you had her sort of out of focus and sort of like a motion blur almost to her. It was very like creepy movie, and I thought that made it really strong and very interesting. So. You know, I do love this image as a whole, and I do love the concept of it, but I got to tell you, looking at the original one, it knocks this one down to a 1 for me.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. I think, and I think I struggle with that a little bit, second guessing, especially with composites. I look at them for so long that after a while it's hard for me to do that, but I hear what you're saying.
There's my general feeling on critiques, even when you're going up against masters, because we had some really good masters in the Creation Wars that week too that know what they're talking about, and none of them were necessarily off base, But keep in mind that there is still an element of opinion
Mm-hmm.
being thrown around. So when they're telling you something really obvious, like, the highlights are off on this side, or, this one line coming down is distracting, or something very potent that you look at and go, oh, I didn't catch that. They're absolutely right. Edit that, but don't change the integrity of the photograph, because that's style. So you're going to have people that like it and people that don't, because it's just personal taste.
Sure. Yep.
So, yeah, next one.
Okay.
That was rough. I'm sorry. I'm like beating on you right off the bat.
That's okay. I'd rather be honest than soft, so I'll take it.
Good. Okay. Tell me about this one.
This is a series that I was playing around with, an image in the bottle series, or message in a bottle, and sort of thinking about the desperation of someone who has to communicate using sort of the message in a bottle technique. So I wanted to think about some of the images, some of the messages people would put in bottles, and what that would look like. So I came up with an image of a person drowning in the bottle. They might be able to get out, they might not be able to get out. I wanted to add some activity to it, some sort of chaos with the water splashing. And then when I was putting it together, I liked the still frozen drops hanging in the air. I thought when I think of someone drowning in the ocean, you kind of see the air bubbles sort of escaping around them, and I thought that added a little bit of some of that motif to the background. So this is sort of how this image came together.
Nice. I like this one a lot. It's very well done, and it's very unique, and it's actually kind of bright and clean for your style of work, which I think is probably my only real critique with the image. I'm pretty good at picking out your images and knowing they're yours before I check the icon and make sure that it's your name posted with it. And I don't know that I would have known this one was yours. But I love the concept of it. I do like the water drops. I think it would have been really neat to have a few more of the epic splashes. And there's a couple I can tell that you were cloning some of them. Specifically, I guess it's like the wall or whatever the horizon line is behind him, directly below that. There's 3 of them in a row that are like 3 triangular drops. That gets really repetitive. Same thing on the other side. So I would just go in and clone some of those from other spaces, because as I'm looking at it, I'm seeing them, and you actually have them really close to each other. So it's okay to do things like that and have drops that you're cloning and using multiple spaces. Just make sure they're not lining up with each other perfectly, because that's when you start to see the visual patterns in it. But I love the concept as a whole. It's very well done. I like the sharpness of the water and that we're getting that, but you still have that kind of shallow depth of field, and it's blurring out to the sort of vignette on the lower side. I think I would have kept just the bottle and him in sharp focus, and I'm guessing a lot of the focusing, a lot of the aperture was actually added in digitally, because it's way sharper on the left-hand side looking at the image than it is necessarily on the right, and same thing along the ground. It looks really sharp along the bottom, but not so much on the other side, and that's a depth perception thing, so they should be even. So you might want to go in and just play with that a little bit. But other than the bubble repetition, that's the only thing that really cries out to me. On the negative, it's a really well done shot, and I love the concept of the shot as the whole. So I'm going to give you 2 for this one. I think it's commendable. I'd definitely go in and retouch some of those bubbles, but other than that, it's a good shot.
Thanks. I definitely see the bubbles now that we're talking about it. I didn't see them before.
Yeah, I do that all the time. That's why I'm a stickler for it.
No, that's good. That's why I like having other people look at my work. Okay, next one.
Yep.
This is from a series where I was trying to play around with the idea of messages and shadows and hidden messages, and sort of what it would look like if our thoughts and our feelings were sort of on display for everyone to see. They weren't hidden. We couldn't lie. Everyone could kind of see what was going on. So this is one of the images from that series. I was thinking about my work process, and for me, the editing part is sort of the loneliest time, the time where there's the most conflict. Is this going to work? Is that going to work? So I tried to put together something that merged what I'm feeling sort of as I'm creating these images with the idea of messages and shadows.
Nice. I love the concept of it. I'm not a big fan of this really hot highlight on the upper corner.
Okay.
I think that's distracting away. I think it would have been stronger if it was similar to the other side, to the left-hand side of the image.
Okay.
But I do like the computer monitor giving you this like monster lighting, because it's just subtle enough to accentuate all of your features without making it look like it's like, you know, flashlight campfire lighting. So I think it's really strong, and that almost never works and is flattering. And here I think that it is. I think it just makes you look very very masculine and focused, and because of the image behind you with a guy, it kind of gives you this sort of darker feel that follows the line of your story with having dark thoughts. So I think that that's really good. The highlight kills it for me, though, as a whole. It's a really neat concept, but I can't. You always go to the lightest part of the photograph, and because that's really the only light part of the photograph, it keeps pulling me away from you and anything else going on to the image and up to that top corner and off the page. So I love the concept, but I think you missed the mark a little bit on this one. I really love the concept, though. I want to give you 2, but I'm not. I'm going to give you a very high 1.
Okay. All right.
Next one.
Next one. I wanted to create a few images where I wasn't necessarily telling my story, but seeing what I would do if I was interpreting another story.
Okay.
So one of the things I've been able to do on this trip that I'm on is do a lot of reading. So I thought I'd take a couple of my favorite books that I've read in the past little bit and see what it would be like if I would sort of reinterpret what that story was all about. And this is one of the books, one of the images that I came up with, the book of 1984. And I also love pop-up books in general, so I thought, combine all those ideas together, what would a pop-up book of my interpretation of this book look like? And this is one of the images I came up with.
Nice. Again, I'm loving the concepts, and I really love that you're brave with your work. I don't think this image works as a whole, but I think it just needs to be revisited. One, you have the line of the book, and you have the line of, I guess it's like the cement, the stone blocks that you decided to go with. The line follows the center of the book, which makes you want to see the seam of the book, but then it flattens out. So your people should be following the curve of the page to make it believable, because they're just on a straight horizon line, and the book would have the curve to it. So it's not really working visually because of the perspective. I'd be inclined to go in, follow the line of the book, and still have the people on it, but have them, you know, raised and lowered to follow the height of the page. And then I love the idea of it being a pop-up, but I'm not exactly sure what you were going for with here, because the edges of it are really soft and again have that kind of motion blur, so it doesn't look like it's popping up from the book. And again, with the depth perception, like, you can't tell visually if that's supposed to be on the back wall with the orange or part of the book, or it's not really fitting in. It's just, I gotta be honest, it's a poor composite job as a whole for the viewer to interpret.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
That's a really, really harsh critique, and I'm going to give you a 1 for it, because I do like the idea. I actually love the idea, the concept, and I think you're onto something with what you're doing. I just don't think it translated for you in this image.
Okay.
So, is that the last one? We got one more.
There's one more.
Okay. Finish strong.
Okay. Let's hope so.
Pressure. Be better! Yes.
Okay, good. This is another image in the series that I was just talking about. I wanted to put the book in a more natural setting to see what that looked like, so I kind of put it on the coffee table in the living room. And I wanted to work with a book where the main subject was absent. So Gone Girl, one of the best books I've read in a while, but had that idea of the person not being there and how do you represent absence instead of presence. So that's
Right.
where this came up with.
Okay. I like this one way better. You're still playing a little bit with the pages of the book and wanting to have like the road lines and stuff and having it open, but I feel like in order for it to work visually, you have to have the seam of the book because you have it open and she's on the book. So I love the idea of it, but it would have been stronger if we had kept that line of the page and you had adjusted the perspective of the edge of the road forward so that it would look like it would on a seam, how it gets distorted and severed from itself. But I love her. I love the tree. I would have liked to have seen the fall off of light be just a little bit more subtle and natural because it kind of stops rather suddenly. But I think that you could probably go in and tweak that fairly easily. But this one is a much, much better interpretation of this concept than the other one, I think. And I like it in the natural setting a lot more. So I'm going to give this one a 2. I think it's commendable. You're almost there with this one. You're really, really close to nailing it. And I'd like to see a few more of these because I think it's a really, really cool concept.
Okay, thanks.
So, good. All right, so you can go up and click off the screen share and then catch me up on everything that's been super awesome in the world of Guillermo.
Well, halfway through this trip that I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really, really difficult so far. I'm hoping that things get better from here on out. So I think there's been some struggles logistically, just kind of getting settled, and I don't feel like I've had a chance to sit and work as much as I would have wanted to. So I think that's sort of some of the struggles that I've been dealing with lately. I'm hoping that things will change now that we've kind of moved for the last time and we'll be here for the next little bit.
Okay. So, you know, you're through your first sphere, through the foundation levels, and we're going into sphere 1, and you are just making the cutoff with 2 days to spare where you have the option to have the next sphere custom designed for you. So where you are now as opposed to where you would like to be. Let's talk a little bit about that.
What I think I want to do is I've got 6 more months here, and I want to leave with a portfolio of images that I feel comfortable sharing to people that represent my work, and I don't feel like I've gotten there yet. I think the images that I've been working on recently have been very emotional, very, very personal, very fine art, and I'm worried that that's veering a little bit too much into the fine art, too much into the personal realm, and I'm not sure that those images are going to help me when I get back. So I've been thinking about taking up the ideas and the concepts I've been working on, but tweaking them back more toward the business, commercial, something I can walk in and say, this is what I'm capable of. Let's talk about how I can help you with your company, with your business, things along those lines.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what it is you actually want to do with your artwork.
I think that's a good question. I think that's part of what I'm trying to figure out and part of what I'm trying to spend some of this time here doing. I want to help other people tell their stories in a visual way. I have a background in graphic design, and I want to incorporate some of that aspect to it too, so I don't necessarily have to be the person that creates every single image. If a company has a set of images, how do we put those together into a story? How do we display those on the web? How do we turn those into a mobile experience? So storytelling at the core, and then how can we sort of make that happen? If you have the image, if you don't have the image, that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
Okay, so with the idea of, I love the quote, helping people tell their story in a visual way. Is that what really lights you on fire, and is that what you feel your purpose is with your artistry, or is that what you feel is the best path for you to make money doing your art?
I feel like it's the best combination, and I feel like if it's the right story, I could get really excited about it. I feel if someone gives me a bunch of spreadsheets and say, turn this into an annual report, that's not going to do it for me. Right. But if someone tells me a compelling story, someone's working for a sexual abuse shelter and they want to reach out to women, telling them about their services, that is something I could really get behind and get jazzed about. So I think if it's the right story then yes.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about who your ideal clients are then.
I would ideally say individuals or small businesses, people that I don't want to work through layers of bureaucracy. I want to be able to talk to the people that make decisions, talk to the people that want to tell their story directly, and work directly with them.
Okay.
I've done a lot of volunteer work in the past. I would love to do a lot with nonprofits. I would love to do a lot with volunteer centers. I think that's the kind of stuff that could really kind of get me going.
Okay. What kind of nonprofits and charities and volunteer work are you most drawn to?
That's a good question. What I've done in the past, things like Help Portrait, things like homeless shelters, making sure that people can get to resources. I'm big on education, so I like a lot of adult education centers, anything that kind of helps people get back on their feet.
Okay. And then we're looking to be able to do this full time and have it financially support you, yeah?
Somewhere between full-time and part-time, yes.
Okay. What does that look like financially for you?
I honestly don't know. I have been trying to focus more on the art side and spend my time here focusing on that, so I purposefully haven't thought about that because I know if I do that, then I'm going to lose the art side of it. And I think I need to focus on these techniques. I need to focus on building a good set of skills, and then I can turn the skills and run the numbers, do the business. That's at least my thinking so far.
Okay. Well, I think it's a good blend of both, because when you know what you're working towards and you have the business side thought out, then you get to think about it less often because you've already figured it. My general theory is that if you're trying to make money, you have to know how much money you need a month in order to survive, so we know what to build you to, and then because that helps build all of the business side off of that. So it's just a goal number necessarily, and it could be something like you can just go based off of your current living expenses and going, I need at least $2,000 to survive a month, or you can be like, you know, I'm dreaming big and I really want to make at least $10,000 a month. But having that general number helps break everything else down as far as what your work life will be, and then that opens up other opportunities, because obviously, you know, we love doing charity work, and I work with a lot of nonprofits and stuff too, but it's a lot easier to do that work when you're making enough money to be able to afford to go do that work for free.
Right.
Yeah. Or at least at a discounted rate. So it's one of those things where focusing on the business and doing that successfully actually gives me more opportunities to be able to do the charitable work, which I could totally see you doing. So I want to make sure that we can build in your business and your charity work and still give you time to just live life and, you know, spend time in personal realms outside of the art and the business side too. So something to think about.
Yes.
Now, you can absolutely, you know, like ideally, we just want to get you from where you are to where you want to be, but if for you right now the focus of that is the artistic side and the portfolio, we can build the next 10 levels that focus almost solely on the visual side of it and building your portfolio, because you can always pick, you can stay with me, they just approved me to be a level 2 master, or you can pick a different master to study under at higher spheres, or you can leave level 20 and go on about life with, you know, everything you built here. So the goal is to really just decide where you want to be at level 20 right now, and then we'll take the next step when we get there.
Okay. For me, the focus on the art would be beneficial because I really want to be confident in the skills. I don't want to go into someone. I want to be able to walk into someone and be very confident, say, I know how to do this. I know what my vision is. I know what my purpose is. And this is how I express that. So if I want to work with you, this is what you're going to get. And I feel like I need a little bit more work on the artistic, the technical side to get to that point.
Okay. So as an artist, solely for the visual, what is it that you want to be known for, and what are the descriptive words that you want people to use when they're talking about you?
Storytelling is definitely in there. emotional, layered, not necessarily pretty, but insightful. And this is all sort of off the top of my head.
Good.
But I'd rather someone not like my work but understand that there's a message there than to flip through quickly and say pretty, 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 pretty.
So you more for the visually striking than for the pretty factor.
Yes. And more
Yeah.
for the communicating a message in a visual way. And messages that might be tough. Mine doesn't have to be happy sunshine. Not that there's anything wrong with happier sunshine pictures, but that's just not me.
Okay. What do you feel is holding you back right now on the artistic side? Where do you need to focus?
I think right now the technical. I think I've spent the last 6 months really focusing on the storytelling, and I feel good about that end of my workflow. I feel like I understand how to convert, at least to some degree, an emotional message into an image. But I think a lot of the things you said today was, how do I finish off a composite? I feel like I can start a composite, and I feel like I can get most of the way there. But I always feel like there's a few things that aren't quite right. So the finishing edge of the work, how do I take a good image and make it a great image? How do I take an image that you can see there's something there and make it a lot more visually striking?
Okay. And you said you wanted to create a full portfolio in the next 6 months that you have there. So what does your portfolio look like? Define that a little more for me.
The portfolio that I want to have has a mix of images, like I showed you today, some composite images, along with a few examples of how to put images together. So how do we take a story and tell it over 2 or 3 images?
Okay.
So something, and I've done some work in digital publishing before. So how do we do a small book, 2-3 page digital book that tells a story from start to end? So a mix of those two mediums, I think, is where I would fall in.
Okay. Okay, so we're working on your portfolio and on perfecting the technical side of the retouching. How are you feeling about your photography skills in camera, and where do you think your strengths and your weaknesses are there?
I feel okay with my photography skills. I think they're adequate. I don't know that they're spectacular. I think I do a good job with lights and darks. I think I understand artificial lighting, and I think whether the image is natural light or artificial light, I can just about always get at least the lighting that I want.
Okay.
I think I need help in terms of posing and in working with other people. I think I can do an okay job, but I'd like to do a better job with my posing, with directing people.
Okay. What else do you feel we need to focus on?
Overall, I want experience. I need to work. I need to do more work. I need to create more work.
Okay, how are you doing over there, being in a new place with having availability to models and locations, and are you good there? Do we need to focus on that?
Models has been very difficult, and that's why every image I showed you is basically a self-portrait. I didn't want it to be a self-portrait. It's just I haven't been able to find good models with the language barrier, with the weather here. It's been miserable lately. I think it's been difficult to connect with people, especially since we've been moving around so much. We haven't been in one spot for more than 2 or 3 weeks. I'm hoping that as the spring comes around, it'll get a little better. We're here for now for a little while, and I think as the weather turns a little bit nicer, I think a lot more people kind of get out and about, and I'm hoping that will help the situation.
Okay. Okay, I think I have enough to build your Sphere 1 then. I'm gonna, same thing I'm doing with everyone. It's taking about somewhere between like 3 to 4 days in a week to build out the spheres, because I'm going back over the original critiques and I'm looking over your work and your social media and really kind of custom building for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to elevate you because you passed level 9. And then I'll invite you into Sphere 1, and what I want you to do is just kind of take a look around at everybody else's Sphere 1, because it's different. It doesn't have like level 11, 12, 13. Like, there'll just be a room with your name on it instead of level 11. And then within those rooms, everybody has their sphere custom built just for them. So it's totally different than the original Foundation spheres. There's not a lot of required interaction, but there's a lot of encouraged and suggested interaction where you're still getting you know, communication and feedback and critique and reaching out, and I encourage you guys to do that on your own as you're going through. There's also a new activity and a new community discussion called the Wishing Well. That is your first step in Sphere 1, so that should take you the first couple of days. So other than that, it works the same way. There's the Hall of Records. You're still, you know, leveling up and asking for elevation to new things as you're going through, and I'm checking in with you. But this is where you show me what you're made of, and if you really want it, you'll work for it. So it's a lot less hand-holding, but I'm still there to help you, but the work is on you this time. It's not, you know, everybody do this level and everybody, you know, fill out the same thing. This is you working for what you want to do. So it's going to be custom built towards that. It's not going to be easy.
Okay.
So take a look around, and then in the next couple of days, I have you and I have Claire to build out for still, and then you know, once I post it, you'll just look it over and go, "That sounds great, Coach," and then off we go to the races.
Okay, I like that.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Is there anything else that you wanted to go over, or that you wanted some one-on-one time while you had me?
I don't think so. I feel like I'm in the middle of a transition point, sort of like a pivot point. So I think seeing the plan and getting a sense of what the next sphere is like, I think is good. Okay. I think that's kind of where I am right now. I'm in the planning stage, thinking stage, so I think this all kind of comes together really well for me.
Very cool. So when I elevate you to 10, you'll get an email from the Arcanum asking if you would like to go up to the next sphere. But in the meantime, your last requirement for level 9, 10 is that I would like you to write me a review of your experience in the Foundation levels, what you love, what you didn't love. It can be about the Arcanum, it can be about the Google communities, it can be about me. You can be like, "Oh my God, you're the best master ever. Oh my God, I cannot stand you, but please make me lots of money." Like whatever you think, whatever you feel, suggestions for improvement, where you want to go, you know, I encourage you to rewatch the critique and just really spend some time kind of figuring out where you want to be, because if we know where it is that you want to be and what you want to accomplish, it's a lot easier to build the path there. So once I get that from you, then I'll start working on your Sphere 1. Okay. Sound good?
I think that sounds great, yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, you did swimmingly. Go get congratulated.
Thanks, and I appreciate the honest review. I think that's really good. I like people who tell me the way it is, so I'm glad you didn't sugarcoat anything. I appreciate that.
Everyone will tell you sugarcoating is not my thing. So I'm glad you took it like a champ.
Good. Thanks, I really appreciate it.
All right, I'll see you at level 14.
Okay, thanks. Bye.